Hey everyone, welcome to the second video. In this video, we're going to split this up into a couple of phases. The first phase, what we're going to do is we're actually going to rinse off our brined cabbage. You can see now it's been sitting out for a couple of hours, or for a few hours, and you can see that the leaves have become a little bit more flexible. Not as much, but you can see that they're actually bending without breaking, which is what we want to see. And so we run that under clean, cold water just to rinse off all the salts, and then we'll let that strain here. Here I have a little strainer, and then I have a bowl that I flip upside down, and I put this in the strainer to help some of that water come out. We use that same brining liquid actually to get our Korean radish prepared. And so what we do is we cut these into matchsticks, and we actually put in that same brining liquid for about 30 minutes. During that 30 minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to get the rest of our seasoning ready. So I'm going to go through and show you how I rinse off the cabbage. And we actually do this a couple of times. All you have to do is just make sure that you're getting all the salt out, and you'll have little straggly leaves like this come out. And that's actually fine because we'll be able to use those later for something else. So, and usually I do this in the sink. You can do this under running water just to make sure that you have fresh water to rinse out the salt as well. But just for the sake of the video, I will show you one, and you kind of just massage it just to get some of that salt out from all the leaves, as you can see here. And after that, you can give it a little squeeze and just let that sit in the strainer. And we'll run a second one. For the sake of the video, even though I'm showing you this once, we'll probably do it a couple more times, which I'll do off camera. And while we're letting that drain in the sink, we'll get to the next part, which is getting the Korean radish ready. Alright, so we're almost done. This is the third one. And then we'll do the last one. And like I said, I'll run it a couple more times underwater in my sink. But just wanted to show you how I do things, at least on the video, so you could see how things are done. Like I said, the most important thing is just making sure that you're rinsing off all the salts. Alright, there we go. That's the last one. Okay, so I'll be right back. Get these ready. Like I said, I usually just let the strainer sit in the sink for a little bit just to let the rest of that water drain out. And again, we want to keep this water, this brine water, because we're going to use it for the next step. Alright everyone, I'm back. And so what I do next is, you have these little leaves that came off while you're rinsing it off. I actually like to keep these. What you can do with these, even the ones in the brine, remember we chopped a little bit earlier, you can either do a quick kimchi with that, or what you can do is you can actually put this in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer and use it in some soup too. And so what we'll do is we'll take some of that out here, and we'll take some of this out here. And this as well, you want to make sure that you rinse this out, because obviously you don't want to freeze it with the brine water in there. Should I do it this way? Toss that. Alright, so I just dump that water out. Reserve some liquid here. Just pour this in. And this is what you want to, like I said earlier, you just want to make sure that you rinse the salt out, the brine water out, and then you can either freeze it or you can put it in with the kimchi after we're done. All right, so the next part is getting the Korean radish ready. One thing to keep in mind when you go to the Asian market, there is daikon and then there's Korean radish. They're different. You can see that Korean radish is a little bit more wider and wider and flatter, whereas the daikon is a little bit skinnier and it's a little bit longer. The flavor profile is different as well. The Korean radish is a lot more mild, but if you don't have a choice, daikon works as well. But if possible, using Korean radish would be the best. What you're looking for is for it to be nice and firm. And first thing that we're gonna do, we need to cut this into matchsticks. And so we'll cut the ends off. Some people don't remove the outer, but I actually do, just because there's a lot of dirt and grime that I would prefer not to have. And so get that ready. And so for the kimchi, since we're only doing one cabbage, I typically do about 175 grams. So we can measure that out. You can use the rest for either another soup, or you can use it for other things as well. See, we're just kind of loosely peeling off the skin. Nothing too complicated. Since we're not using all of it, I just use a portion, and then we'll weigh this out as well. And so since we're doing matches, you kind of have to think about the length that you're going to slice the kimchi into too. You don't want these matchsticks to be too long, because then they get tangled when you're seasoning the kimchi. And so usually what I'll do for this is probably about 8 inches. And so I probably cut this into quarters, like that. It's probably plenty for what we're going to use it for. So I'm actually going to weigh this out. This right here, a quarter of it's probably going to be more than enough. And so this one I'll slice just to set aside, and I'll use this for another dish. But the way this works is when you're sliding, obviously you want to be careful when you're using the mandolin. And I find this to be the easiest, but what we'll do is just make sure I do the sides first, just to make sure we can get it to fit before we do it lengthwise. Push this back a little. Okay, so I think that should be enough. I'll set that aside as well. It can get kind of messy, especially with the matchstick cutter. Get this open here. Slide that in, get that off. And again, so what we'll do is we'll put this in the brining liquid. What we're looking for right now, same as the cabbage. Right now it's very firm, but we want it to be nice and pliable. And so brining it will help draw some of that moisture out to get that consistency that we want. Just throw that in here. Yeah, and we usually set this aside, I think about 30 minutes, but what I find is that once we get all the other seasonings prepared, that's actually plenty of time to get this. The next greens that we're gonna put in the kimchi is, call it Nira, or garlic stems, garlic chives. They have a lot of different names, but this is what it looks like. It's almost like green onion, but the leaves are a little bit flatter. You can also use chives as well, which wouldn't be quite as flat, but we're gonna put this in as well. And so you can see here, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna chop it a little bit, just like this. And same thing, we're probably using almost the same length as the Korean radish. And what we're gonna do is after I chop it, we're just gonna wash it a couple of times to make sure we get everything out. And then what we do is we use a salad spinner just to get all that water out of there. just like that. Be right back. All right, now the thing is, this is where things can vary by region. There's different extra ingredients that people put in depending on maybe who you were taught by or where you're from. But just to keep it simple for today's sake, we'll just use the chives and we'll stick with that. And even as far as the seasoning itself, we'll keep that pretty simple as well. All right, so once you have that, once it's been spun, should probably do it. So once that's spun, what we'll do is we're gonna use about 125 grams of this. And then again, this is just for one cabbage head. So what we'll do is have it tared, 30 grams. But honestly, having more is not a bad thing. So we did about 140 grams for that. So and the rest of this, we'll set this aside. These can be used for other dishes as well, but just know that you need about 125 grams. And again, like I said, I used about 100, 140. Having a little bit more, honestly, is not a big deal. So put this aside. Okay, so just to recap, right now we have the Korean radish brining. We have the extra tidbits that we actually rinsed a couple of times, and same thing, it's straining right now. And later what we'll do is we'll actually squeeze the water out before we figure out what we're gonna do with that next. We have our cabbage draining. And so the next step is getting our seasoning ready. All right, everyone, I'm back. This is the last part before we actually get the cabbage seasoned. This is getting our seasoning ready. So as we discussed earlier, here is the Nira that we have that's been lightly dried. Next, what we need to do, we have a couple of things that's gonna go on around the same time. So we're gonna get our rice porridge going, and at the same time, we'll get the rest of the seasoning in the blender. And so for the first part, what we wanna do is we want to have about 500 grams of water. And again, you can have a little bit more, a little bit less, because we can always add as we go. We want about 500 grams of water, and then about 75 grams of rice flour. Now, if you don't have rice flour, it's actually a-okay. Some people just use cooked rice. Sometimes you can even use whole wheat or whole flour, not whole flour, flour, as a substitute as well. What we'll do is we'll tear that off and get about 75 grams. I'll set this aside as well. Okay, now when it's on the heat, one thing you gotta make sure is that you don't have it boiling. So initially, in the beginning, you can have it a little bit hot just to get the water going. But what you wanna do is just to make sure that you don't have it too hot, because what'll happen is it'll actually start to kind of congeal on the bottom. And so in the beginning, just to kind of break it up a little bit. As far as the saucepan size, it's not only about getting this to temperature, but after that, we're actually gonna put the red pepper flakes into this pot as well, or this saucepan as well. And so what you wanna do is make sure that you have enough room to do that. All right, so what we'll do is we will let this go as we get everything else started. Okay, so the next part, what we wanna do, we want to have about 70 grams of garlic, and I don't know how many cloves that is, so we will count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 70. All right. Yeah, so about 20 cloves, give or take. What we'll do is we'll throw that in our blender as well. I should have this showing. All right, next part here is about 60 grams of ginger. 60. We'll get some more. Up to 60 here. Okay, a little over 60. We'll throw that in as well. So next here, about 115 grams, 120 grams of fish sauce. This is a brand new bottle, which is good. All right, so we have that tiered off. So again, about 120, 115. Another note, the fish sauce that you buy, I guess, the non-Korean ones are a little bit different. It's a little bit more toned down. Korean fish sauce is a little bit heartier, so just kind of be aware of that when you're buying fish sauce. Honestly, I've used both, and either one is fine. And shoot, I've been talking so much. This congealed a little bit, so we'll break that up. And then the last part of our mixture that we'll do before we start blending is we're going to use what do they call it here? Waterkill. Salted fresh, I don't know, shrimp paste, salted shrimp. There's a lot of different names for it. We call it 새우젓. But what we'll do is we're going to put that in as well. Almost have that off here. And for this too, we'll have about 115 grams. Or sorry, not 115, 140. So we'll measure that out. Okay. The last thing that we do need to put in here is sugar. So we get this another stir here, and that's actually ready to go. Okay, you can see how it kind of thickens up here. It's a little thicker than I like, so I'm actually going to add some water just to kind of loosen it up a little bit. You almost want it to be like a loose paste. You don't want it to be too thick. All right, last part here, we're going to put in about 40 grams of sugar in the YouTube world because normally I'm left-handed. Okay, 39 grams. So got that in there as well. Next, I'm actually going to grab some more water to get for our. Actually, that might be enough. Okay, so the next part is we're actually going to cover the lid here. Just to recap, what we have is fish sauce. We have the shrimp, the salted shrimp, ginger, garlic, and sugar. So what we'll do is just kind of blend everything together. That's it for a second, and then we'll get our red pepper flakes. So as far as red pepper flakes, one thing to keep in mind, when you go to the Korean market, there is coarse red pepper flakes and fine red pepper flakes. For kimchi, you actually want to use the coarse red pepper flakes. So we'll use about 130 grams. My bowl is wet, so I'm going to add a little bit more, knowing that not all of it's going to go in. And this is where you can kind of adjust to your tastes. If you like things a little bit less spicy, I guess you can put in a little bit less. It's probably more what Koreans do if they don't like spices. They'll actually have a bowl of water next to their kimchi, and as they're eating it, or as we're feeding it to our kids, we'll actually wash off or kind of dip it in the bowl a little bit just to get some of the pepper off, rather than having the kimchi itself be less spicy. Looking at my scale, I probably measured about 140 grams. Okay, so we'll do add a little bit more water here, just to kind of thin it out. Okay, now we'll throw the pepper flakes in. Alright, so we'll mix this in. This kind of incorporates the red pepper flakes in, and also kind of rehydrates them as well. The last thing that it will want to do is have it cool down before we actually start to use it for seasoning our cabbage. And so yeah, there are some bits where it kind of congealed a little bit, And what we do is just kind of loosen it up as we're mixing in the red pepper flakes. So make sure we scrape the bottom just to get everything mixed in. All right, so we'll let that sit for just a second and I'll get this out of the way.